Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our program. This is Ajmal Masroor live on TV1. We're talking about Muslim students navigating university life. How is it for them? What should they be aware of? And what kind of preparedness should they have had already, if they haven't already made any? And what kind of support is there out there available? But more importantly, what are the challenges facing the modern day universities that we have? Now we have, not a few Muslims going to universities, many. In our time, the numbers were very small, but now it's a significant number. Even my daughter is just going to university. Things are changing pretty fast, and very soon every household is already saying that they have a graduate in their house, which is a fantastic achievement. And our community's achievement we should celebrate, and we should encourage our children to excel in education and show the world a good role model. But we'll discuss all that with you. If you've got any questions that you want to raise, you can join us. I'm going to do the program both in Bangla and English, so people can, parents can join in. And if you're a young person about to go to university and you've got a question to ask, you can also join in asking your question in any language, I suppose Bangla and English, both. আজকে আমাদের প্রোগ্রামে আমাদের বাচ্চা যারা এখন ইউনিভার্সিটিতে যাচ্ছে তাদের ব্যাপার নিয়ে কথা বলবো। ইউনিভার্সিটিতে গেলে তারা কি করবে, কি পাবে, কি আশা প্রত্যাশা করতে পারে তারা, এবং কেমনভাবে এই ইউনিভার্সিটিতে যাওয়ার আগে প্রিপারেশন নেওয়া দরকার ছিল, অথবা তারা কি প্রিপারেশন নিয়ে যাচ্ছে না ওইখানে গিয়ে প্রিপারেশনের জন্য প্রস্তুতি নেবে, কোন ধরনের সাপোর্ট আমরা দিতে পারবো তাদেরকে, এবং কোন ধরনের সাপোর্ট এখন আছে, এটা নিয়ে আমরা আজকে আলোচনা করব। বাট সবচেয়ে বড় ব্যাপার হলো এখন যারা ইউনিভার্সিটি যাচ্ছে ওইখানে গিয়ে কোন ধরনের চ্যালেঞ্জের মোকাবেলা তারা করতে হবে, ওইগুলো নিয়ে আমরা আজকে আলোচনা করব। আপনাদের যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে আমাদেরকে প্রশ্ন করতে পারেন, ফোন করতে পারেন, ইনশাআল্লাহ আমরা আপনাদের প্রশ্নের উত্তর দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করব। আমাদের সাথে কয়েকজন গেস্টও আসছেন, তারা অনলাইন জুমের মাধ্যমে জয়েন করেছেন। তো প্রথমেই আমি ইন্ট্রোডিউস করতে চাচ্ছি আমার প্রথম গেস্ট ডক্টর আব্দুল বারী। আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহি ওয়া বারাকাতুহু।
ওয়া আলাইকুম আসসালাম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহ।
ভালো আছেন ডক্টর বারী ভাই?
Alhamdulillah, how are you doing?
I'm very good. I haven't seen you for a long time.
Subhanallah.
Can you remember when you went to university? I know it's a very ageist question, but I couldn't resist asking you that.
Wow. I have had two phases in university education. One was in Bangladesh from, say, 1971 to 76. Can you imagine? Most of the students are of my grandchildren generation. And then when I finished that education, and I was in Air Force for a while, came to the UK, came to London in 1983, King's College, London, 83 to 86. I was doing my PhD. So that was more or less, that was an undergrad. So I was a matured student then.
At that time, did you have many Muslim students like we have today?
In King's College, I was doing research. So in that laboratory, there were quite a few students, not some British origin and others from overseas. But I had connections with Islamic society. So there were a good number of Muslims. But as you rightly mentioned, or probably is known, that the number of Muslim students now is very high, alhamdulillah, because schools and colleges have been producing very good Muslim students, and many of them are coming into education in the university. So it's quite a big number now, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Right, if you've got any questions, আপনাদের যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে আমাদেরকে ফোন করতে পারেন এখনই। Are your children going to the universities? And if they are, what are you expecting? The challenges, what kind of things they will be facing? What kind of issues do they have? Obviously, the first and the foremost is financial challenge. Going to university has become very expensive. £9,000 minimum, I think, is how much they charge for the tuition per year. And then you've got to find some sort of a loan. Again, loan is a major concern for many of us, whether it is ethical in the first place. Those loans do tally up. Eventually, students would leave after a 3-year bachelor's degree program a debt of well over £100,000. Is that how a person's life should begin? Isn't there a different way or a different model in which we could have actually brought education more possible for our children? Some of the questions. And the other question I have, what about navigating their faith? How do they protect themselves from other influences, secular influences, influences of anything else for that matter? How do they become and remain a good Muslim? Those challenges we want to talk about, and we want to find out from you. If you're at home and watching our program, if you've got a question, please give us a call. And if you've got experience of how you have already navigated through universities and you have overcome those challenges, do give us a call. So Dr. Abdul Bari, what did you study? I think your line must have dropped or it's gone bad. I can't hear you very well.
I can't.
Dr. Bari, can you hear me?
Sometimes.
No, I can't hear Dr. Abdul Bari. All right. Let's go to the other guest. We've got another guest waiting online. I think that's Dr. Wajid, right? Is that correct? Dr. Wajid?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, not too bad. And yourself?
Good, alhamdulillah. Thank you very much for joining us. We had Dr. Bari, but his line has dropped off. But that's okay. We have you as well. So, Dr. Wajid, when did you go to university?
I went to university from 2000 to 2006.
Okay, so more recent.
Much more recent, I hope.
And what did you study?
I studied medicine, but I did a separate degree on the side in history and international relations.
Okay, good. Well, two completely different disciplines. And
Yeah.
when you went to university, what challenges did you face?
I'll be honest, the challenges I faced were a lot less than maybe the challenges faced today by the young people of today, because in 2004, something was invented called Facebook. And so the social media revolution took place while I was at university. It wasn't there when I had started. The other challenge was the financial challenge, as you've rightly pointed out. And the third challenge that people are having is the heightened Islamophobia. I mean, it was beginning at the point where I entered. I entered around the time of September 11, so just before September 11. But it took full force and effect and was...
Well, this is interesting that you should mention September the 11th. Today is the 23rd year of September 11th atrocities that took place in America. 23 years later, we're still discussing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were in the university when the 9/11 incident in America took place.
Yes.
So you must have been pretty much under siege by the constant question that were doubting your loyalties, your citizenship, your motive, whether you're a terrorist, whether you're an extremist. I'm not sure. Am I putting words in your mouth?
No, it was a very pivotal moment for every Muslim across the world. In fact, on that day, it wasn't just the people who died in New York. It was millions of people who due to actions that came from there, died afterwards, and maybe are still continuing to die from what happened on that day. And yet, for the university student, you're in a very vulnerable situation, because educationally, there's a set path, right? You have lectures, you have exams, you have tutors, you have systems, you have processes. But Islamically, or in terms of life and your faith and your identity, there's no path. It's a complete, empty playground. So for some people, they are lucky and they find a structure, they find a community, they have a good identity or a good sense of self. And for others, it becomes very destabilizing. And we saw that happen because Muslim students either became very much more interested in their religion or their faith because they're being attacked about it and they're being asked questions about it, or some of them, unfortunately, they went the other way. They became repulsed and they moved away because they didn't have that good grounding or the good structure.
I suppose the biggest challenge for you at the time when Facebook was invented was how to firstly balance between your newfound interest in the network of friends that you had just suddenly finding online, and your studies? I mean, I suppose you were quite studious. You have ended up doing 2 degrees.
Alhamdulillah, yeah, the biggest challenge for everyone, because you're at this is a very impressionable age, right? At university, you want to go, you want to make friends. This is the age where you're thinking about life partners. This is the age when you are thinking about what your identity. Everybody wants to fit in. You're desperate to fit in. So when you get to university, if there are people, the wrong crowd, they have the wrong views, they're trying to put you in the one direction or another, you're very, very vulnerable to going in that direction. So it's really important for parents or students right now. You have to have a very strong sense of your identity. Who are you, right? Because if you don't, you're going to be somebody else's puppet to play with. I remember, just to give you one example, and this will probably explain everything. I saw a brother once, and I was on my way to pray Asr, and he said, "Are you coming to the disco tonight?" And he asked me this same question 2 or 3 times before, and he's a Muslim brother. So this time I had enough, because he knew my answer the first time, and he asked me the second and third time, I think just to provoke me. So I said, "You are a Muslim, you know what the answer to that question should be. We shouldn't be in the club on Friday night." And you know what his response was? He said, "I promise to you, by Allah, there are more Muslims in the club on Friday night than there are in your prayer room on Friday Jummah."
And I'm not surprised he said that. I'm not surprised he said that.
He's right, and I travel across the world. I speak to Muslim students from across the world. In most universities, I promise you, apart from maybe 1 or 2 countries, in most universities, there are more Muslims in the club on Friday night than there are in the Jummah prayer. There is a battle for ideas in university, not just degrees. And you are part of this battle for ideas, and it's up to you whether you're going to be, which side you're going to fall on. Because at the end, everyone ends up becoming one or the other. They go on this
and sadly, 9/11 had shaped a particular narrative that stamped down or it curtailed our activities in the universities, especially Islamic activities. If you were, I used to go around the country delivering lectures and talks since the entire Muslim community was being judged with a terrorism prism. Many of us as speakers were not any longer invited, and many universities clamped down on Islamic activities, Islamic societies, clamped down on free speech, on debates and discussions, which we took for granted. And then it left many of those young people more vulnerable to those influences. I assume that probably was your experience too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember your talks. When we need those, we need our speakers, our ulama, our shuyukh, our imams, to continuously engage with the youth, because this group is unlike most other groups. Most other groups, you're set in the way and you're preaching to the converted. This group, they really are up for grabs. So inshallah, please, let's double down. These next few weeks, very important. In a month, those students will be in their own cliques and in their own groups. This month, reach out to them. And if you're a family, speak to them, talk to them. What are their friends like? What are they experiencing? What are their difficulties? Because this is a really pivotal moment that may have a big difference for their whole life.
Yeah. The students, the company they pick up will determine their future. And especially if you're parents, আপনাদের বাচ্চারা যদি এখন ইউনিভার্সিটিতে যাওয়ার জন্য প্রস্তুত নিয়ে থাকে, তাহলে আপনাদের এটাও চিন্তা করা দরকার, আপনাদের বাচ্চাদের ফ্রেন্ড কারা হবে। তাদের ফ্রেন্ডের মধ্যেই তাদের পার্সোনালিটি এবং তাদের ফিউচার ডিটারমিন হবে, তাদের ফ্রেন্ডের মাধ্যমে। আনফর্চুনেটলি দ্যাট ইজ দ্য রিয়ালিটি। এখন যদি তারা রং ফ্রেন্ডের মধ্যে ঢুকে যায়, রং ক্লাবস জয়েন করে, রং সোসাইটিতে জয়েন করে ফেলে, দেন ইউভ লস্ট দেম ফরএভার। এটা হচ্ছে একটা ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট কনভারসেশন। বাচ্চাদেরকে নিয়ে বাসায় বসে এই কথাবার্তা আপনাদের এখনই বলা দরকার। ইউনিভার্সিটিতে যাচ্ছে, অলরেডি যাওয়া শুরু হয়ে গিয়েছে। আমার অ্যাডভাইস হবে আপনাদের প্রতি এটা, যে আপনারা একটু সচেতন থাকবেন, বাচ্চাদেরকে নিয়ে কথা বলবেন ওপেনলি, তাদেরকে অ্যাডভাইস দেবেন, তাদেরকে এক্সপিরিয়েন্সের কথা বলবেন, তাদের আইডেন্টিটির ব্যাপারে কথা বলবেন। যেহেতু আমরা মুসলমান হিসেবে আমাদের ধর্মকে ভালো করে বোঝা দরকার, ধর্মের প্রতি আমাদের কনফিডেন্স থাকা দরকার। এই কনফিডেন্স যদি আমরা হারায় ফেলি, তাহলে আমাদের বাচ্চারাও ধর্ম থেকে সরে যাবে। এই জন্য আমি আপনাদেরকে বলবো যে আপনারা বাচ্চাদের প্রতি একটু লক্ষ্য রাখবেন। ইউনিভার্সিটিতে যাওয়ার আগে তাদের সাথে কথা বলবেন। এখন থেকে তাদেরকে প্রিপেয়ার করা দরকার, আগ থেকে প্রিপেয়ার করা দরকার ছিল, কিন্তু এখন যেহেতু অলরেডি টাইম হয়ে গেছে, আপনাদের বাচ্চাদেরকে ইউনিভার্সিটিতে দেবেন নিশ্চয়ই। এনিওয়ে, আমরা এখন ব্রেক নেব। বিরতির পরে যখন ফিরে আসবো আমরা কন্টিনিউ করবো আমাদের এই কনভারসেশনটা। We'll take a quick break. When we come back after this particular break, we will talk more about university challenges. Don't go too far away. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. আমাদের program শুরু করতেছি আমাদের প্রোগ্রামের ডিসকাশন হলো university. How do our children navigate university life while protecting their faith? Dr. Bari, I'm sorry we couldn't speak to you earlier, and we don't have a very long time to continue talking to you. I would love to talk to you for the entire show, but we've got about 5-6 minutes before we finish this particular segment, and then we have a second half where we have a different guest. But let me just quickly ask you, so children navigating their faith in the university, what do you suggest they should do when it comes to navigating their faith? How can they preserve their faith, and how can they be loyal to their faith at the same time, not be seen by their fellow students as a misfit, somebody outsider, somebody boring, somebody extreme or a bit more fundamentalist? How do they navigate this?
Subhanallah, that's a big question, but my answer will be university is for higher education, so academic excellence should be in every student's mind. So if the academic excellence is in their mind, then they will be more concentrated with education, and obviously that's the main purpose. At the same time, as Muslims, they should be excellent in their akhlaq. So for that, they need a sort of peer group. And as you rightly mentioned, that without good friend circle, not only student, anybody can go astray. So how to find good friends? That is a big question, and I fully agree that mom and dad and parents and elders should talk with them. And by that time a student is matured, so parents have to talk in a way that they feel valued. And of course, in every university college nowadays should have Islamic society, and that's the good thing that probably my generation, your generations have done, alhamdulillah. So there is infrastructure, there are Islamic societies, and there are ways and means of negotiating with the university authorities. So by the time a student goes, along with his or her friends, somebody might already be friends, they should negotiate with the establishment. They should negotiate with the National Union of Students or Islamic or a normal society, student society, and find ways to maintain their Islamic identity. And of course, they should not keep away from this. They should not keep away from social engagement, because some people think that if I socially engage too much, maybe I'll be spoiled. But in fact, what Islam says is, in this society, if you mix with, that's a beautiful hadith from Ibn Umar, narrated by Ibn Umar, that if someone mixes in the society with all sorts of people and suffers or have difficulties but maintains their religion, they are far better than one who keeps quiet and keeps away from the society. So university community or student community or education community should be students more or less their friend group. And one thing is required is confidence is absolutely important, and confidence and the identities. And identity issue is also a big issue. We are Muslims by religion, we are British by nationality, and we have got ethnic identities. And there should not be any confusion in any of these unique identity within the multiple identities.
Now, in the universities where they are, obviously now and since 9/11 is a major deciding factor on how policies have changed within universities. We are on the 23rd year anniversary of 9/11 attacks. Do you think that shift is now shifting again, and more free speech and more conversations and open discourses are becoming possible, or is it still thought police operating within the university campuses?
I think in some ways things are getting better, in other ways things are getting worse, because Islamophobia has risen many times in the last 10-15 years in this country, and politics has shifted more right than center or center right or left. So that's one thing. On the other hand, young generations, especially the Generation Z, they are more receptive with many ideas. And I must mention that Generation Z in Bangladesh, that means late teens and early 20s, they in fact led the revolution against the government, not the millennial generation or the generation of ours. So they are more receptive, they are more idealistic, and they want to see a better world. So in a way, things are positive from that side. But when it comes to the media establishment and all sorts of things from the top, things probably have gone worse. But in a society, there will be always challenges.
In our country, the UK, with the Palestine-Israel conflict taking place, politicized environment, I'm pretty certain universities would put their foot down on anyone being too pro-Palestine, because obviously there is a massive pressure on the university campuses and the chancellors of universities not to allow pro-Palestinian activities to take deep roots.
That's true, and we have seen this, and in this country and in the Western countries, especially in America. But I think students are the future of any society, any country. If I'm not saying that they should subdue their views, but there are better ways of probably doing things. Overtly confrontational approach probably is not going to be working, but sort of negotiation is strong in the view, firm in opinion, and gentleness in nature. In fact, if that's the mixture of students and the groups of students that work even for pro-Palestine, maybe they will be winning hearts and minds of ordinary students and other teachers. But it's a fine balance that someone should take. One should not be fearful and stressed unnecessarily. On the other hand, one should not be unnecessarily confrontational. And at least in this society, I must say, unlike many countries where there is no freedom of speech or opinion that is by law, this is accepted. Judiciary in this country is far better than many other probably Muslim countries. So we should take advantage of that. We should not be fearful. We should ally with others, building alliance with as many Muslims and non-Muslims, practicing, non-practicing, it doesn't matter. It is the cause that is universally accepted as cause. Besides some global North countries, the whole world is for the justice and freedom in Palestine. So students should feel that they are on the right track. But if challenges come, they should face this with more or less wisdom and try to navigate as much as possible.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bari. I'm going to let Dr. Bari go. Dr. Wajid, before you go, just a quick question to you. How do you think students should become more active in social justice issues in the universities?
Assalamu alaikum. My advice to students who want to become more active is be part of a group. Lone activity, you are going to be easily either pulled apart by different people, or you may make mistakes. So social media, you might say, oh, I'm going to say this about Palestine, and that could get you into trouble. However, when you're part of a group, then you add your strengths to them, and they mitigate for your weaknesses. And when you are feeling down, they lift you up, and when they're down, you lift them up. So join a group. Almost every institution, every Islamic university in the world has an Islamic society, and the Islamic society has multiple events. They have Discover Islam Week. At the beginning, they have Charity Week, which is raising funds for children and orphans in Palestine and Sudan and Bangladesh. There are Friday Jum'ahs. They have Ramadan coming up in a few months. So join a group, inshallah, a small group of friends, but also the wider group of the Islamic society. And you will find your friends, you will find your colleagues, inshallah, and you will find people of your temperament. Because a lot of people, they say, oh, that's not the right people for me, and maybe I'm not that same level as they are. you'll find all sorts of people there, inshallah. This doesn't mean that you don't make friends with other people. But you have your own identity, you have your own values, and you are firm and you are strong based on that. And then you are able to make better relationships with others from a position of confidence and strength, as opposed to a position of weakness or by yourself, where all the pressure, all the intensity, everything is on you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wajid, for your
Islam society, inshallah.
Thank you for your kind and wise words, and I'm going to say goodbye to you too. Thank you again to both of our guests, and of course to you for listening to the program. We haven't finished. We're going to take a break, but I've got a second guest to introduce to you before we go anywhere. We have Dr. Zahid Parvez, who is going to join us. By the way, Dr. Zahid Parvez is, I think, is the director of Markfield Institute for Higher Education. I've known him for many, many years. I think at least 3 decades, and I've had nothing but admiration for his activism, clarity, and dedication to serving our community. He's running a full-time program of various courses in Markfield Higher Education, Institute for Higher Education, Islamic Studies, in Sharia, in banking. They're running programs on chaplaincy and a couple of other disciplines I'm going to let him explain. So it's important that we hear from the horse's mouth, as they say, the teacher's perspective, those who are facilitating a program. Luckily, it's an Islamic institute, so therefore it's more likely to have the solid support base. But let's find out. Dr. Zahid Parvez, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you?
I'm okay. Alhamdulillah, good to see you.
I haven't seen you for a long time, Dr.
Yes,
Zahid Parvez. Thank you very much for joining. How is Islamic Foundation's Islamic Institute for Higher Education doing? Markfield Institute for Higher Education.
Yeah, it's the Markfield Institute of Higher Education, and we operate like a university. The only thing is that we are trying to get now validating powers so that we can become a university. So everything we do is undergraduate and postgraduate courses and research. So, we operate exactly like any other university. Regarding your, the theme of this, if I can say a few things,
please go ahead.
Listen to the other guests as well. I've been in higher education for 40 years now. 40 years is a long time. 10, 12 years my own study. I did 4 degrees at different universities, and plus I've been as a lecturer and then in higher education management for last 33 years. So I have been working at Wolverhampton University for 20 years. I've also been an external examiner at many universities. And here at the Markfield Institute, I've been here now for 12 years. So I have seen many generations of young people coming, joining universities, doing different courses. Then I have seen them leave universities and then progress in their careers and achieve much, much more. Now, regarding Muslims, there are a couple of things which, the audience, need to be aware of. First thing is before they go to university. Second is during the university studies, and then after the university. Now, as an example from myself, I was given no guidance before going to the university. So we were told in those days, 1979-80, that you should become an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor. We had no other option. So I did chemical engineering. And because we were not given proper advice and guidance, so I kept on changing my courses from chemical engineering to IT, to business management, and then I did e-democracy. So if I had been given guidance at the very start, would have helped me a lot to progress and fast track my career. So I strongly advise young people listening here that please get some guidance before you apply to university, and not only what the courses are about, but where will these courses lead to. That's one thing. Second thing is when they are at the university, the environment and the friends they keep will have a huge impact on their self-development, so the friends can pull them down into a lot of immoral things because there's no parents, no elders, no community members. So the young people are totally free, and many do go very wild at the university. But if you keep the right environment, right company, and be with those students who really want to progress and work hard, whether they're Muslims or non-Muslims, they can then pull you up, and together you can make progress and achieve very good results and develop other skills. So stay within the Islamic society environments, choose your friends wisely and manage your time and other things. That's another thing which is important. The third thing is to help the young people at the universities. I found, although I was able to do this at Wolverhampton University because I was part of the local community as well. In many universities, the local community does not engage with universities. They do not support the Islamic societies and the Muslims. So the local community support also helps to create and enhance the environment of the Islamic societies. So for them to give our students good experience, they need to be part of that environment. And also at university, students do need to engage actively in many of the societies which are available. It doesn't have to be only Islamic societies, but all the other societies, because what that will do, what the company is not only they are looking for people with confidence, people with leadership skills, people who can who are socially and politically aware, people who have networks, and people who have access to resources. So engaging in the university life and all these different societies, it can really help to build you personally and give you these transferable leadership, employability skills. So if you go for a job interview and you just show that you have a first class honors and you did very well, but you have no confidence, you can't speak, you can't answer their questions, they give you problems, you cannot solve the problems, you won't get far in life. So this is why for me it's so important for students to make use of this wider environment where they can develop. Now, there are challenges at the universities, so many challenges, but the Islamic society environments and the engagement of the local community support can help young people a lot. But they also need to develop their own connection with the Quran Majid, with Islamic literature, and trying to support and guide the other students, who may not be as developed as them. So all of that, will help them, and they can convert that university experience life into something which will have a very positive impact on the rest of their life. Yeah. So these are the few things which are very important for young people. There are challenges like prevent duty. I mean, it's very open now. I'm part of the East Midlands Prevent group for higher education, and we do get called to meetings where all the universities, vice chancellors, registrars are there, and the management openly discusses where the MI5 Home Office is directly contacting universities to ask about particular students and so on. So there are a lot of sort of observation, surveillance at universities, but here the community can also help. We need to educate the vice chancellors, and we need to educate the senior management teams of the universities, because I found where the vice chancellors are more understanding, then the issues for Muslims are reduced much. But if where the vice chancellors and the senior management of universities have little understanding of Islam and Muslim issues and what this whole debates about prevent and whether Islam is tries to promote terrorism or not, we need to educate them, and that will help the Muslim students a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Zahid Parvez. I've got some questions to raise and maybe some conversations we can have. So let's start with creating an Islamic environment. you're very fortunate that you have an Islamic institute, and therefore your environment is already Islamic. You don't have to really go out of your way to provide an Islamic environment. It is by definition people sign up to an institute. You provide undergraduate degrees as well as postgraduate degrees, right?
Yes. So we provide three. So what we do, the ulamas, we give them pathways to careers. So those who want to go and become chaplains and pastoral care workers, we have BA Islamic Studies with pastoral care. Those who want to become educators, we have BA Islamic Studies with education. And those who want to become Sharia scholars, we have BA Islamic Studies with Arabic. At the master's level, we also have Islam and Sustainable Development. We also have Islamic Economics and Finance. So these are different pathways which ulamas can pursue and try to develop their careers in these directions. And we are looking at other areas as well, like Islam and media studies and so on. So what we want to do, ulamas, there are not enough mosques to employ all the imams which are graduating from the Darul Ulooms. So what we are trying to do is trying to give a pathway to our Islamic scholars so that they can join professional careers. Many of our graduates, they join the graduate schemes at the local authorities. Many become teachers. Many have become chaplains at universities, hospitals, and prisons. Many become Sharia board advisors and go into Islamic financial institutions. So, we have helped over 1,500 people to graduate and then pursue careers in these different paths. So, this is the kind of work which we are doing. So it's really the application of Islam in the contemporary world in different professional specialized areas.
Now, the question I was leading you to is that in your university, you don't have non-Muslims studying, it's mainly Muslims. And in your university, you have an Islamic ethos. That's not the same for students who are going to the mainstream universities. They're meeting Christians, Hindus, Sikhs, people of other faith, no faith, people who are secular, people who are identifying in no particular way. How do you navigate this in such a, it's like it's a maze of ideas, and everyone is competing with one another to win over friends. How do Muslim kids survive such an environment?
Brother Masroor, I've worked at Wolverhampton University, like I said, over 20 years. So it was a mainstream university where I saw many, many issues and challenges facing the young people. But here at Markfield, our students are from the mainstream society. So they are exposed to all the challenges like any other student from other universities. So we do have students, who don't have the same level of piety, character, all these things. We do have students who are engaged in plagiarism. We faced a similar situation as I faced at Wolverhampton University. So because they're born and grown up in this country, so they are also exposed to the same challenges. So the advantage we have is that we have an environment where we can nurture piety, give them direction, inspire them to do well in their education, and try to pursue professional jobs and contribute towards the development of their communities and society. So that is our advantage, and this is why we say that for Muslim students, this is really an ideal sort of opportunity for them to come here and study and then stay within the right environment. But at the mainstream universities, like I said, they must immediately be linked to an environment where they can be morally developed and others can support them in addressing some of the challenges which students face.
But my question is more specific to how students manage these competing ideas. If an 18-year-old child, an 18-year-old young person has gone into university, for the first time they're encountering other people's faiths in such a close proximity. Their faith is being challenged. their ideas are being challenged. How do they navigate that? And how do you suggest they navigate it? Because you've been in this environment for 40 years.
Yeah. When Muslim students go to university, it's a cultural shock, because even in schools and colleges, the environments are very controlled, and they are mainly in their local environment where their parents, their community members, so they are very careful about their behavior and other things. Soon as they go to university, like you've said, they go through a cultural shock. For the first time, they're in an environment maybe away from their home, and they have to live with people with all kinds of behaviors, thoughts, religions, cultures, and so on. So for those who have not had the proper upbringing, for them they easily get absorbed into some of them, I would say non-Islamic behaviors and activities, and they are not able to pull themselves out of that unless they link themselves with an environment. And many become totally confused as well. Who are they? Because they don't have a strong identity, because there are many opinions, values, beliefs, systems, behaviors they're exposed to. It's like a marketplace. They can pick and choose different lifestyles. People come there, with different clothes, engaged in different things. So for young people, it is a huge challenge and difficulty. And, only a good environment, friendship. This is why I said they need to have the right friends, right company, and the right environment. And the community can help them by addressing their questions. Their gender identity issues are raised, the relationship with the opposite sex are raised, their drugs and alcohol and discos, all these issues are there. So, a community, if they are involved, they can sit with young people, they can have discussions about these things and try to help them understand why Allah wants them to behave in this way and how it is good for them in the short term and in the long term. So it is difficult, but many do, with the right environment, are able to come out of this environment and keep themselves intact.
Okay, and the second question that I have with choosing a career path for themselves, you talked about how your universities are providing a pathway for the scholars to find a way forward. But how do we encourage our children to choose a particular degree or a course? Now there are so many degrees and courses available, and why should they choose perhaps one over the other? As a provider yourself, how do you help those students?
Yeah, this is where the guidance before reaching university is required. Although schools are giving them some guidance and so on. But can I say something from an Islamic perspective here? That what we do is not only help them to choose a career where they can find professional jobs, good salaries, so that they can help their families and their communities and their personal self. But what we say at the Markfield Institute, that in addition to that, we feel that their studies at the Markfield Institute is what we call fardh kafaya. Not everyone else will be able to do it, but if they pursue the application of Islam in the contemporary world and develop new disciplines, like we have done over the last 50 years, Islamic economics. Even now, the West is taking this discipline very seriously and actually believes that Islamic economics and finance can help to improve our economy in some way. Similarly, we need to develop new disciplines like Islam and spiritual psychotherapy, Islam and sustainable development, Islam and education. If we develop these new disciplines where Islam can be applied and taken seriously by professors, intellectuals, by governments, that will start to have a huge impact on the direction of our society, on policy making and so on. But that means that knowledge should be seen as sacred. Knowledge should be seen as a part of our striving for the good and something which has a value by itself in addition to professional careers. So this is why Islam emphasizes a lot on seeking knowledge, because knowledge can save societies and can save civilizations. Our civilization now, we are on the verge of a third world war, and we are immersed in materialism, depression, mental illnesses, spiritual emptiness is all there. So we do need scholars who will now develop these disciplines which brings Islam and tries to solve modern contemporary problems and can use their knowledge to shape policies and the direction of the whole society. So this makes it an act of ibadah as well. So this is what we are trying to do at Markfield and at other universities. Even if students are doing medicine and other areas, if they decide, if they really are passionate, we push them to excel and try to become the world best in whatever they do. And that direction will also save them from many challenges at universities, but inspire them to something higher. So they will benefit from their university life and be able to then pursue their careers and make an impact in their fields.
Now, Dr. Zahid Parvez, I know you have seen many amazing students emerge from your institutions. Any that you can name that our communities can use as a role model, who have emerged from the universities or places where you have taught or you have been involved in?
Oh yes, I just came from Malaysia and I met a lot of our alumni. I mean, one of our students, he was the information minister in the state government. And many of our other students, you know, they have very high profile positions, deans of universities and so on. So, you know, what we are trying to do is trying to help our students excel in whatever subjects they do. And what we say that they must try to impact their field, not just find a cushy jobs, get a good salary, and they're not concerned about the wider society and issues. So there are many, many role models, you know, who have come. Many of our students graduated, they went to other universities, did PhDs, then they came back as lecturers at the Markfield Institute. And then many have then went on, and some are associate professors, some are professors, Dundee University, Leeds University, you know, so many universities now where our students have gone and they are contributing positively towards society.
Very good.
Many
well done.
have become,
and I think that's a massive achievement on the part of Markfield Institute for Higher Education. Thank you, Dr. Zahid Parvez, for being with us and giving up your evening to discuss with us. Anybody who wants to go and study there, you just have to do a Google search on Markfield Higher Education, Institute for Higher Education, and you'll find all the details there. Of course, you can go and study there if you like. Well, for us, we've come to the end of our program. If you're going to go to university, especially if you're a young person watching this program, please get ready. Firstly, have a good conversation with your parents. Think about the types of friends that you should be having. Your friends are the ones that are going to be determining your future. Think about the career path that you want to take. What kind of subjects you want to study. Think about what kind of activism that you would like to be involved with. What kind of societies, clubs you would like to register with. And most importantly, how do you see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years' time after you have graduated, after you've got a job? Where do you see yourself? What role do you want to play in society? This is the time to shape yourself for the future. If you miss it now, you'll miss it for the future. University days are very important. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a young person, if you're a Muslim especially, I have a simple request to you. Gain more knowledge about your faith, you'll be more confident about your faith. You have no knowledge, you'll be washed away. Nobody will be able to keep you back. Knowledge is power. Learn about your faith. Start learning now. Otherwise, you'll get washed away in the free market of ideas and competing ideologies and thoughts that you'll encounter in the university. There is nothing wrong in being a Muslim. I'm very proud of being a Muslim. We need to inculcate within you spirit of loving your faith based on knowledge and confidence. Well, good luck with your studies, good luck with your universities, and parents, please do talk to your children. Have a frank chat with them before they go to universities. Do keep an eye on them, mentor them, guide them, help them, support them. Anyway, take care, and inshallah we'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.